that have a playground and a little ring um, interview area, it would make more sense for it to be off-site, away from the stadium, and in like a shed or something, or in a like broken down area. And I think that they're filming in Tampa right now, and there's plenty of areas for them to go ahead and do that in. But sometimes WWE, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't feel like they do the things for the right reasons. They ended up having also a tag match later on with Lana and Naomi versus Baszler and Jax. Lana and Naomi actually looked really good. I kind of dig that tag team. I'm kind of over Baszler and Jax having the tag team titles now. It's just not working for me. So if they're able to, take the titles away, I think Lana and Naomi would actually be a good choice. Finally, they had Lashley versus Strowman. McIntyre interrupts like it would. Lashley won with a spear, and then McIntyre went in and hit claymores on both Strowman and Lashley, kind of leading up to the whole pay-per-view. I'm just going to call it Backlash. I'm not going to call it WrestleMania Backlash. WWE might be branding it as WrestleMania Backlash, but as I said plenty of times before, I do not like the name of it. So we'll see what it goes from here. I would really like to. Bobby Lashley's doing well with the title, and I do like MVP as his manager. I do not see where Braun Strowman comes away from the title. That's just my opinion. I do think Drew still deserves to be on with the title, but I am 100% grateful that WWE actually put in effort and put the title on Bobby, and actually seem to be kind of babying it and letting MVP do a lot of the talking. It seems to be working. I like those two working together since TNA when they're in the Beatdown Clan. Let's see if they can actually keep it interesting for Bobby Lashley. Moving on to AEW Dynamite. Now, I'm going to kind of breeze over this because I'm going to be talking about this with Just Incredible, and we're going to have that episode uploaded more than likely on Friday. I think Friday would be the best time to upload it, have people have an episode for them for the weekend. We'll see how that conversation goes with him. They started out the night by having the match that was supposed to be Omega and not Nakamura. It's Nakazawa, Michael Nakazawa. That was supposed to be with him and Michael Nakazawa versus Kingston and Moxley. Kingston and Moxley came out to Moxley's music coming through the crowd like Moxley does, and Omega attacks him on the way to the ring. Overall, Mox wins because the Omega starts walking out on the match, and they just kind of destroy Nakazawa. Afterwards, they had a beatdown where the Elite attacked, which was Gallows, Anderson, Omega, and the Young Bucks. Later in the night, this part did make sense. So they had Cody versus QT, but Cody was working heel the whole night. And he biting in the eye rake and the back scratch. It didn't make sense. QT actually hit the Cody cutter, and Cody wins with a figure 4. After the match, Anthony Ogogo attacks because they want to further that feud, which is fine. The Factory is actually not a bad faction to be feuding with Cody right now in the Nightmare family. Billy Gunn, Connor Gunn, Austin Gunn, Dustin Rosen, all of them. Later in the night, we had Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky attack Darby Allin, throw down the stairs. If Darby Allin didn't sustain a concussion from that down the stairs tumble, we're very, very lucky, because that was rough. It was hard to watch, and I'm surprised that it was okay to do that, because there's a high probability for injury doing that. Then there was the 4-way tag match. We had the Varsity Blondes, SCU, Jurassic Express, and Acclaim. Platinum Max Caster cutting a little bit of a promo in the form of a rap, like old school John Cena from 2006. It wasn't bad. The match overall wasn't too bad as well. SU ended up winning, so they're going to go on and face the Bucks for the titles, which kind of was telegraphed, but at least the match was interesting. At least it wasn't like a complete squash. There was a promo afterwards with Omega and Tony Schiavone, by the cage. It looks like they're trying to prop up the cage, getting it ready for Blood and Guts. A little bit of a promo there. Orange Cassidy makes his way in, and they talk about it. Michael Nakazawa walked out with Kenny Omega. Now, a lot of people are up in arms about this because Nakazawa was carrying all the titles except for the AEW title, which is on Omega's waist. Here's my take on it. He's a heel, right? He probably looks at it like AEW was his first title, so that's the only one that matters. Him having Nakazawa carry the rest might be a little bit of a jab at Impact, but it's a jab that makes sense. He is a heel. He's supposed to be hated. He's supposed to be looked at like a dick. So the idea like, oh, that's disrespectful for the title. Nah, man, he's playing the character. He's playing the character and he's playing it well. I want to say when other people were collecting titles, like when Angle collected titles, he did something similar. And I want to say Austin Aries might have when he was part of the belt collector in TNA, which was definitely a missed opportunity with TNA and Austin Aries. But he's a heel. It's supposed to happen. Now, this is a question I'm going to pose to Incredible on the next recording when him and I talk about it. But in my opinion, he's a heel. He's supposed to do that. So why get up in arms when a heel's doing heelish things? You know, at that point we had, I mean, what's Kenny Omega supposed to do for heel heat? You know, when he's walking out to the ring, kick babies, punt them, and on the way in. Yes, I am making a reference to when it was done on WWE with the baby doll. And I'm not going to talk about the Blood and Guts match too much right now. I just, people that are upset about the way he fell from the cage with the crash pad and the blading, we all knew the blading was going to happen. Camera work could have been better, but the crash pad was for safety, and even still, I do think Jericho probably walked away a little bit injured from it. Again, if they write him off TV, good. But again, you know, I'm going to talk about it more with Just Incredible, and I'm going to go back and forth a little bit with our opinions on that. Moving from Wednesday to Thursday night, we had Impact. I do not like the I did not like the backstage segment that they had with like Johnny Swinger and that very contrived way of talking to each other about the bracket. I think the bracket's a great idea. I even like the fact that Under Siege we're going to have a 6-way match for the number one contender spot. But this backstage segment was not needed. It felt forced, and it felt forced where all the people were talking about their position in the bracket. I did not like it. It looks like Saban moves up in the bracket, and there's a possibility that he might face James Storm in the bracket because James Storm has a match later in the night to determine if he's in the bracket. The one backstage segment I did dig was definitely between Brian Myers and Rosemary. It was kind of hokey, and I will fully admit that. It was definitely hokey. But it fit. It made it interesting. It was very entertaining. But at the end of the day, it was a better backstage segment. It didn't feel as forced as the Swinger one. But again, my opinion. There was also, with the backstage, they also had Havoc and Decay. And Rosemary and the backstage segment with Kimberly, I believe her name was. There was a Morrisey promo. Totally dug it. I am liking what they're doing with Morrisey. I don't like his name. I think he should definitely be Kaz XL there, but at least the promos are making him a little bit interesting and giving him a little bit of personality, something that was definitely needed. He did face Willie Mack on this night, but 100%. Or no, I'm sorry. He didn't face Willie Mack here. He was going to face him at Under Siege. At least with the promo, it's very, very interesting. I dug it. Hopefully they can continue to build him and actually make him a star. I think he has that capability and to be like a beast of TNA. But we'll see where they come from there. There was Trey Miguel versus Rohit Raju. There was also Miguel won this because he moves on forward into the bracket. And this is where they brought in the whole segment that I totally did not like. there was also another beatdown on this night involving the Elite. Gallows had faced Juice Robinson. Gallows had won and then beat down on them. Eddie Edwards came in for the save, but it didn't matter. They were outnumbered. It looks like this is going to be a Gallows, Anderson, and Omega versus Eddie Edwards and Juice Robinson and Fit Finlay. Or not Fit Finlay, Dave Finlay. Finjuice. So if this, I want to say there's an advertisement for Under Siege. I could have missed it. But this would be a pretty decent match. I think Eddie Edwards versus Kenny Omega would be very, very interesting. So let's keep it there. VSK face El Phantasmo. I haven't seen El Phantasmo work, and I do like New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's just having a hard time finding it on TV. I know it's part of the Roku channel, but I haven't really navigated to the Roku channel to really watch it. But overall, he looked pretty good. There was a weird point where the ref was getting in the way, and it seemed like to disrupt the flow of the match, which refs, I'm not saying their job is easy, but man, you cannot be getting in the way. It almost made me want to reach out to Sean O'Brien, who we actually did an interview with last week, and ask him if he's ever gotten in the way like that, because this was really, really bad, and it seemed like it would really hurt the flow of the match. Ellering was on here versus Kira Morgan. I totally didn't really dig Ellering, but that's where I sit with it. Moose faced James Storm. Moose won, so Storm is not going to face Saban in the bracket. And Moose is kind of beat down on James Storm after it, so it looks like they might be running off Storm off TV. But Moose's contract is up for renewal. And there's a constant back and forth of whether or not Impact, whether or not Impact is actually going to sign him again. They would be fools not to. Looking at the landscape of where wrestling is, they kind of need a star like that with Moose. Now, if Moose doesn't want to sign with them, that's his prerogative. I have a feeling that if he doesn't sign with them, he'll probably go to WWE, and whether a part of the NXT brand or one of the other brands, because with him being a former football player, WWE would offer him a pretty good deal. I don't feel confident that they would use him well. And I don't like the possibility of what they could possibly do to that character. It kind of feels like they might do the same thing they might have kind of done with Titus O'Neil. Because to me, Titus could have been a star with a little bit more work and helping him get better. Now, he does a lot of stuff on the outside for WWE, and I think Titus as a human being is an absolute gem, especially what he does for kids and people in the state of Florida. But I felt like he could have been so much more than he was with WWE, and had they worked with him a little bit more, developed pretty good storylines besides the Darren Young one. But woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? NXT was okay at best. They had a Falls Count Anywhere between Ruff and Swerve. That was pretty good. I definitely like Cameron Grimes. I like to see him on there. He's one of my favorite characters of NXT. I think his whole gimmick of being this country boy to the moon character is actually really, really cool. I remember him in TNA. He was a really good worker back then. He was paired up with Hurricane Helms. But I think the Cameron Grimes one is just hokey enough that it kind of works. And I definitely would like to see him continue to do stuff within WWE. I think that character is good enough to kind of carry it on, kind of like the Velveteen Dream character. They also have Grizzly Young Vets with Ciampa and Thatcher. Now, I did miss last week's episode, and I don't remember Thatcher and Ciampa being a tag team, but they worked really well here, and I think it's a good, what's the word? It's a good dynamic. They're enough similar, enough different that it works, and if they keep them as a tag team, good. It sucks that Ciampa is kind of being relegated to tag team specialist between that and DIY. But if it works, it works, If it's not broke, don't fix it. Smackdown, they had a really good promo of Roman Reigns, bringing Jimmy Uso back into it, and Cesaro interrupting it.